You are obviously a big horror genre fan, coming if you look at your filmography and where you kind of came up from. Were there any particular horror influences that helped you approach this new Annabelle movie?
Yes. So I wanted to have a little bit more of a classic horror feel. So, cinematography-wise, one of my big inspirations is The Haunting from 1963, I think, because they use, it's one of the earlier sort of CinemaScope movies, and they really take advantage of that format. And in my opinion, the best sort of horror score of all time is probably The Shining. So I used, when we cut the movie, the temp score was all Christoph Penderecki, who they used for The Shining a lot. And that then was the inspiration for Ben Wolfish, who did the music. So yeah, because it's a period piece and because it's the Conjuring universe that has this sort of classic feel, it was something I could lean into and make it feel more old school horror.
Well, that's great because I love those kind of movies. And with this being a prequel, were you given a little bit more kind of, what was kind of the range of freedom you had? Because this is, somewhat tied into real events that have happened.
Yeah, but it was very free because it is a movie that you can see as a standalone piece, even though it does sort of tie together with the other films. It does have a place in the universe. But it was, not a lot of parameters, or not. It didn't feel like you were in a box. You could do pretty much anything.
Now, obviously, Warner Brothers has kind of putting their backing behind horror in a big way. We've got this coming out. The trailer for It just dropped. Do you see, horror usually kind of goes through like cycles. Do you see kind of a return to that kind of classical horror happening? If so, do you have any thoughts on why that might be?
I don't know if there's necessarily going to go back to more sort of classical style, but it feels like horror is always in fashion in some way because it always sells. People go see it, so they keep making it, even though it still has that a little bit of a feel of, not being their A game. It's a little bit like, oh yeah, I guess we have to do horror because it's, except for like places like New Line who have this legacy of doing great genre movies, who really lean into it. But yeah, overall, it feels like it's a little bit looked down upon still, which is unfortunate.